In the 1830s, the Tennessee marble industry really got its start up in Hawkins County. The state geologist at the time visited around the state, and one of the things he identified in a remarks to the legislature in 1831 was these marbles up in East Tennessee that he thought were really fine and valuable. The first company was formed, that we know of, was formed in Rogersville by Orville Rice in 1838. As time moved on, however, the transportation was really difficult to get it to the river and float it down. This is before the railroads came in. And so the real larger manufacturing takes place here in Knox and Blount counties. And a lot of the reason is because the veins were wider and bigger, as they found, and also the transportation was easier. There were a large number of quarries in and around the area, but the biggest ones that would have been well known at the time were the Gray Knox companies, J.B. Jones. They had the big mill out on Sutherland. They also had one of the very biggest quarries over in the Forks of the River area. There was a company called the Crescent Marble Company up off Riverside Drive. There was Morgan and Williams, and then the Ross Republic Company, and Frank Mead was the president of Ross Republic. So these are some of the names that you start to know. So they were very smart in forming groups to market together or to use one mill for several groups all the way through the industry. Candoro was one of these companies.
Candoro, which was a name that was Craig, Anderson, Donaldson, and Rogers. There are three steps in the marble business. There's the quarrying, fabrication, and setting. We did the quarrying and fabrication. The workforce was made up at the bottom end were the muckers, the men who would pick up broken stone, shovel dirt, that kind of thing, and put it in the big muck boxes. And then you'd have the men who ran the bar drills, and they would drill vertically and sideline into the hill. Above the drillers were the broach operators, and the broach was like a regular drill on steroids. Above the broach operators were the derrickers. These were the people that would set the wedges and actually break the blocks off. The other people you would find in the quarries were the engine operators, and Mr. Green was an engine operator. Usually they were older men, more mature, and very responsible, because they were the ones that could kill people.
My name's Leonard Green. First, the work I used a pick and a shovel for the first year. Then I got off on a drill to drill the marble out. Then you put wedges in it to break it. The derrick would get it and take it to the yard, set it down on the yard.
We would load it on with the big 100-foot tall derricks. We'd load the blocks in the rail cars and take it down to the main line, and then we'd rail it up to Knoxville, and that was just the mill where we would ship the blocks to. So we did most of the fabrication in Candoro.
But in the mill, what would happen is the marble is polished, it's cut, it's finished, and they have a variety of stations that it moves from place to place, and people who specialize in each one of those things. So it's again, it's a choreography. And they used in the beginning, and I think they still do to some extent, use water. They used water and they used sand and grit.
Someone who had worked in the 1920s and 30s in my grandfather's time would have recognized the work that we did in our time. It's changed, I think, more from our time to what we see out in the job sites now.
One more big transition was the use of diamonds, especially after it's quarried. Before we had gang saws that use a slurry of sand and water to cut the blocks into slabs, and that was pretty slow. What was it?
Half an inch an hour. So if you had a block in there 5 feet high, it would take you all week to cut it down. So you get 12 inches in a 24-hour day. Now, it was hard work, but it was very satisfying work. The work that these men did is going to be there for us to live with and touch for any number of lifetimes.